It's another fine day at Camp Dynasty. I am Counselor Austin, joined by Counselor Collin. It feels like it's been a long time since we've been here because it has. I am fully recovered at this point. You are coming off of your own
Yeah, I
battle.
got sick and healthy in the time since we recorded
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
So we're all good. We're ready to roll now. We've gotten healthy for the playoffs, and took our bye week,
Nope.
much needed bye week.
Yes. Yes. No rust here. We're not worried about the rust.
God,
Um,
the discourse around having the bye in college football is rampant.
Yes, it is. I mean, what it's like shocking the amount of teams that have lost with the bye.
Yeah, what are they
So
doing? What are they doing during the bye? Let's do some
they're
prep,
getting
guys.
their NIL contracts figured out,
They
and then they're like,
playing
"Wait a minute."
NCAA 26
Yeah.
and smoking cigarettes. Like, how about we get ready for the game, guys?
So yes, it has been a minute, and there's been a lot happening in the college world and the NFL world. I mean, coaches are getting canned left and right. I I don't know how to feel about some of it. It's like it's one of those things where when John Harbaugh is fired and Kevin Stefanski is fired, it kind of makes you realize like sometimes these teams that are built on billions of dollars of revenue and all that, they're just doing shit just to do it. Like it's like me in fantasy football, like I'm bored and I don't like where my team's at and I'm going to just make a trade just to say I did something. And that's them but like firing one of the best coaches in the NFL with John Harbaugh or Kevin Stefanski, perhaps a two-time coach of the year even. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you have to send a message or you have to, make a change. These like big overarching statements that are like, we need to change the culture here. And it's like, okay, I thought that you had like, wasn't Stefanski the guy in place that was doing that? And then,
Right.
there's all that stuff, and the Harbaugh stuff. I maybe understand a little more because it's like 18 years is a really long time, and things haven't changed for a long time for the Ravens, and maybe there's some roster construction stuff to go along with that, and maybe there's so many things that go into building a successful franchise. The head coach ends up being the scapegoat, and usually one of those first dominoes to fall. I know that in Green Bay, they're trying to get Matt LaFleur out of here when he's not has. I mean, it's kind of like a Tomlin thing where he hasn't had a losing season. He's made the playoffs for pretty much, I think, every year. Has he made the playoffs every year but one?
Every year they've had a
Every
winning record.
Yeah. So
The
I,
thing.
I don't know. Fans are never satisfied. Players are, maybe a little antsier now more than ever, where they're like ready to jump ship, maybe, but I don't know. Seems kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think like in Stefanski's case, it has a lot more to do with the topic of conversation for today than anything else, which is the quarterback position.
Pretty good.
Because, yeah, see, you see what I did there? I mean, what are we doing? What are we working with if we're Stefanski? How are we supposed to win games? We need to get the right guy. I can't even say under center anymore because none of these guys are taking snaps under
All
center.
right.
But
Boomer. These guys don't go under center
get
anymore.
off my lawn. I
Touch the
remember back
center's
in my
ass, or you're not
day.
a real quarterback.
Yes. But we are here to talk about the 2026 Dynasty rookie quarterback class, which typically ends up just kind of being a discussion about the 2026 NFL draft quarterback position overall, because it's kind of hard to talk about this position singularly from the position of fantasy football, because you have to be a good quarterback to be able to play consistently in the NFL and score fantasy points. So luckily for us this year, there is not a ton of the mobile guy versus maybe a guy who's just better thing. We don't have a lot of mobility, or I shouldn't say that. We don't have a lot of high end like Jaden Daniels-esque mobility. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
We'll
I
get
don't
into
think we
some of
have like
that.
a dual threat quarterback like we normally would. I think we
Right.
have. There's a lot of athletic guys, a lot of guys that can move, a lot of guys that can make things happen behind the line of scrimmage and take some yards when they're given to them. But I don't think you have a lot of guys that are going to create with their feet beyond the line of scrimmage.
And of course, we talk all the time. We are one quarterback plus. But in this case, we will throw in a little bit of pizzazz as it relates to Superflex, because it is impossible to talk about the quarterback position from a fantasy angle without talking about Superflex and how, where these guys belong in a Superflex conversation. So we will get into a little bit of that as we go through, and probably more so on the top end of this class, because in general, it's pretty weak.
Yeah,
I,
I
I really,
unfortunately have to agree. We're not super deep. I wouldn't say there was, you know, we came in with some high expectations of this quarterback class. I would say where we were talking about maybe five guys that were looking kind of 2024 ish. We're like, hey, all these guys could go. Like we could be feeling pretty good, and we'll mention two of those names I think in this conversation at least. But some of those names are probably not even going to end up on this list. Some of those guys are going back to school for next year because this year didn't go how we expected and probably how they expected. So definitely didn't end up being as sexy as we were hoping, I think.
that is definitely true. But I will say this. I know I've been pretty negative about the 2026 class. The top end of this quarterback class, I like it. I like it. I don't think that it's not a deep class, but I like where we ended up on the top. So we will get there. But starting off, I will turn it to you for your number 5 quarterback in the 2026 class.
My number five quarterback is, I don't know if he's declared yet, Sam Levitt.
He's, I believe he's going back. He's currently he's sitting courtside with Lane Kiffin as we speak, being courted to LSU for
That makes
next year.
sense because he had the season-ending foot injury that brought him back. I like him a lot. I'm just gonna do it. I didn't want to do this.
But you're doing it.
It's Carson Beck.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. It makes me sick to my stomach that we're at this point. And if you've been around the program, you know that I don't want this player in my top five, but it informs the decision making process that I've been forced into to make a top five. And I'd rather have four players that are going back to school before Carson Beck. But we're in this position. And, he's been looking decent. He throws the ball pretty well. He's a good pocket passer. He navigates the pocket pretty well. He's making far less terrible decisions this year than he was last year. Has a little bit better of a playmaking cast around him this year than he did last year, which helps him out. Has good arm talent, I would say. I think that's undeniable. It's just like the things between the ears need to get cleaned up. We need to speed up the process a little bit when it's not in design. I would say when it's like your first reads there, Beck is on time, hitting on target. When things go awry, I would say Beck is not that good. And when he's got to create on his own, I think that there are a lot of negatives that I could put out there. But to put him in this top five, it's because he has the arm talent. He has got good size, and he can be a good career backup.
So if there's two guys You have Levitt and Beck above one of my guys,
Okay.
and I'm curious who that's going to be. And I think I know who it's going to be. Well, I
Okay.
think we're going to talk about him in a minute. But Beck, I mean, he's I've been down this road before. I'm one of these idiots that had him QB1 before last year. And I mean, I will admit that at Miami, he's improved versus that last, train wreck season at Georgia that fueled a transfer to Miami. But at the end of the day, I just don't know that I see him. I mean, we probably see him in a similar way
Yeah.
in the sense of like he can be a backup, he can float around for a while,
Just be
he can
Mitch
play.
Trubisky.
Yeah, he can play within the structure of an offense at a possibly adequate level.
Ringing
So,
endorsement.
yeah. But in terms of a player that I see as, a difference maker in the league, a fantasy impact player in the league, I mean, it's just not happening. And again, it's a product of this class. This is unfortunately going to be a conversation where the bottom half of the top 5 is going to sound a lot like that.
Yep.
It's going to sound a lot like, well, yeah, this guy is he might be a quarterback that can hang around, but I don't think he's going to factor in all that much.
Unfortunately. Who's your 5? I hope this is not somebody that I completely forgot about.
Okay, so number 5 for me, and this was a very late change. I had 2 players graded similarly at 5 and 6, and I opted to make the late flip. And it is for the reason it's for a reason that relates to the conversation we were just having, which is upside, potential, what can you be? And of course, I'm talking about Drew Allar.
Okay. Yeah, he's the one that slid down a little bit for me. So I totally get it though.
So, and of course, like, I think that is going to be the general consensus with Aller. And I will not lie to you. I will not sit here and try to tell you that 2025 was a good year for Aller, because it was horrible. I mean, the Oregon film is horrible. It is terrible. It is the game that I think disillusioned most people to the Drew Aller experience.
What
Like,
happened?
I don't know. And that's the thing. It's very shocking to me because this is a player that we followed for 3 years. We have watched his trajectory from 2023 until now, and 2024 was a good year for him. He took a big step forward from 23 to 24, and it was really exciting to consider that a player of his caliber with his traits took that jump that we wanted to see, and now maybe he's going to take another one. And now maybe he is finally going to earn being worth in that 101 conversation in the NFL draft, because that's what I thought about him coming into this year. I thought he had all the tools and had put enough on film from last year to warrant being in that discussion entering the year. And it was just complete 180. I mean, he just fell apart this year. Like, the accuracy was right back to where it was in 23, maybe worse. The decision making was bad. I mean, the boneheaded interceptions. I mean, it was just like all of the demons of his past came back. And it's like, what happened here? So I'm not going to try to tell you here that, like, I still have him. Like, he's nowhere near a first round grade for me anymore. This is a day 3 grade for me. But I cannot forget what I saw in 24. And I just have to hold on to some sort of belief that in a class like this one, where there's not guys with the tools in this class are very limited. Aller is the guy with the arm. He has the biggest arm in the class. He has, arguably the best pure arm talent in the class.
He's the one that was getting the Josh Allen comp before the
Yes.
season.
Yes. And that comp is always ridiculous, but if we just act like it's a part of life now,
Which
then
it
it
is.
it
Yeah.
wasn't that ridiculous. So I think that's why I'm just like, he's a day 3 player now. That's very clear. But can he get into the league, and can he reclaim some of that 2024 form and develop behind an established player? And then maybe in 3 years, we're talking about, hey, Allar came in relief and like actually looked kind of good. Like, what does that mean? I'm just hoping that we can get there.
I was gonna ask, like, do you think there's any like Jackson Dart kind of situation here where maybe the draft community and even the NFL kind of soured on him, even though there was some like big arm talent, the mobility, all that stuff, and then you come into draft day and you don't see him go. He still went first round, so that's a different story. But like, could he end up on a bad team that has a veteran that like he's starting by the end of year one, and it's like, oh, Drew Aller actually a little better than I thought he was.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from here. Is like, I think if he gets draft, like let's say he goes 5th round, but he's going to like Minnesota or something, like I think there's going to be people, whether it's warranted or not, that are going to be like, but what about Aller though? Like he's got a bigger arm than our guy, and like we've seen him do some stuff. Maybe he makes a ridiculous throw in the preseason, and then everyone's talking about him again. He has that level of pure talent.
Mm-hmm.
And but the problem is that he's always just been a what if. Like
Right.
really, it's always just been what can you be, and we're still doing that even now. And he's coming off of this injury also now. So there's a lot there, but I think I think he's going to be a name that's at least in the conversation versus some of these other guys in this class that you're getting on day 3 that are probably just fading into oblivion.
Yeah, it felt like there was some proof of concept in that 2024 season where you're like, oh, yeah, the Drew Aller leap is on the way. And then, like, there was conversation about him potentially coming out in that 2025 draft and potentially being, maybe a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick, something like that, and end up going back, having a worse start, and then the injury. It's like, man, really, and then you're ending up in probably the same spot or a worse spot than you were in this time last year. Not ideal. So, yeah, I don't like I don't dislike Aller that much. It's just like he's gonna end up being a late draft pick. He's got tools, but it's so inconsistent. The arm mechanics are all over the place, and that drives me crazy. Because I don't mind if you have like a 3/4 arm slot. Like I don't mind if you're, because traditionally we're coming over the top, and it's getting further and further away from the body. Blame Aaron Rodgers for that, but like everybody's throwing it out here now. You get enough torque on it, you put enough mustard on it, doesn't bother me. But if you're all over the place and it doesn't have like a purpose, like you see Caleb Williams, he has. I mean, he can throw the ball from any arm slot in the world, but it is almost always because of the environment dictating what he needs to do, because he got somebody in his face or he's throwing it between because he's a shorter quarterback. But Aller, it just feels like it's arbitrary, and he's just kind of slinging that thing sidearm because he feels like it. And I don't love that when you're having accuracy issues. When you're Matt Stafford, go ahead and do it.
Right.
Because you can, split defenders, put it on a dime, layering it between a linebacker and a safety. But when you're throwing it to an Oregon defender, not as fun.
Okay. So again, Aller not factoring in most likely in a top 48 situation. So that's what we're talking about here. And number 4, for you is
Don't love this either. Garrett Nussmeier.
insane.
Okay. Yeah, so Nussmeier, LSU's quarterback, uh, had in like had 1,900 yards. Didn't play a complete season. Did he play
No,
every game? No,
no.
he missed the last three, right?
Hmm.
From yeah, missed the last 3 games of the season. So put together almost 2,000 yard campaign, which is basically half of what he had last year. Down in yards per attempt, um, had 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. So it's just like the Nussmeier experience is just what you see is what you get. Is kind of how I'd like to break it down. Is you're getting a guy that's not mobile. You're getting a guy that's going to be thrown on time, on target. He's got a really nice arm that he can make pretty much every throw on the field. But once that like pocket gets muddy, it is not like it's not fun watching 18 try to like make something happen out of that because he's not climbing, he's not slide like he'll climb and he can navigate a pocket, but like when he's getting interior pressure, it's just things kind of go off the rails and it's not that fun. So again, this is a guy that's like a third round quarterback in the NFL draft, maybe like a fourth round quarterback, but it's somebody that could, in the very right environment, could be a like serviceable quarterback that can run an offense that's suited to him. Like it's not that he's a statue. He can run a little bit. He can get outside if he absolutely needs to, but I just don't think he's a good thrower of the football on the move. I don't think he's very good at throwing under pressure. But when it's like, hey, we're 1, 2, 3 ball out, everything looks really nice. And so if we can get into a good environment, which can happen for a guy that goes late in the draft, then you could maybe see, some success at a Nussmeier.
Yeah, this is a hard one because this season was like kind of a wash because he was hurt all year.
Right.
Like he came into the year with a knee injury and an abdominal injury. The abdominal injury lingered with him through the entirety of the season.
You don't want a
And
core injury as a quarterback.
right, it's like, and you could like there were people talking. You remember when people were talking about Arch, like week one, like is he hurt? We were doing the same thing with Nussmeier, and then it turns out he was hurt. Like he played hurt basically this whole year. So it's hard to look at his 25 film and be like, this is representative of this player. So really for me, I am kind of defaulting back to the 2024 film with this one. And I mean, he is an older player as well, so it's not like one of these situations where it's like we were expecting a ton of development this year because like he's already 20 or he's going to be 24 years old. So he's 23 right now. Like I mean, this is a player that's kind of cooked and ready to go. And I thought coming into this season, he was fine. Like he had a live arm. He loved to push tight windows and he would do it. Like you'd see these throws from him that were like, holy smokes, he's got that accuracy. But then, he's trying that over and over and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now this kind of seems a little messed up. Like, would you
Yeah,
stop?
right.
Because you're
Now the tight window throws seem kind of
yeah.
messy.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's got a little bit of a gunslinger mentality. That is for sure. But I think he's got a good arm. He's got like he doesn't deal with pressure super well, but you still see some reps where he's able to kind of navigate the pocket. He's not a super athlete like you said, but he is able to get outside the pocket and scramble and do a little bit of creating. He's really good in the intermediate part of the field, which is always something that's good to see at the collegiate level because it's not always an area that's getting worked a ton. But at the end of the day, I think he just ends up being kind of like a backup, a projected backup player. He's going to get a day 2 grade from me because I think there's a chance that in the right under the right conditions, if you forced him into a starting role, he wouldn't be a fish out of water like some of these other guys below him will be. Like he is kind of the like bridge quarterback for me to get to the next group from all the rest of them.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of how he ends up here.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. It's like I don't know if I'm a Garrett Nussmeier like super fan, but I feel like he's the best of the rest, maybe like or better than the rest, where I can feel like, hey, if my team was in a bind and turned to Garrett Nussmeier, I wouldn't hate myself, and
Yeah.
I feel differently about a lot of these other guys.
Yes. Okay. So number 3, I think, is where it starts to get interesting, as long as we are on the same page here.
I think we are. Ty Simpson.
Yes.
Yeah. So Ty Simpson is the Alabama quarterback. I think this is where most people will probably start having strong feelings about this quarterback class, about these top 3 players. Simpson pushed a Heisman campaign at one point this season and had, a really good stretch, I would say, from, week 3 to week 12, which is a really nice, healthy sample of games where he was playing really, really good ball. And it looked, as good as it seemed, I would say, on tape, where he's making good decisions. He's, playing within the structure of this offense, but when he needs to make plays outside, he can. He's very mobile back behind the line of scrimmage, where always like light on his feet, I would describe him as, and he's kind of always bouncing and, never too stationary. They go from watching Beck and Nussmeier and even Allar. It's like it feels like they are kind of heavy back there and they're set in what they're doing. And Simpson is kind of gliding around behind the line of scrimmage, sets his feet and fires. I like his throwing motion. It's a little long, but it is smooth. It's clean. It gets the ball out. He has good velocity on his passes. So that's all good things. Comes around and snaps it down. Sometimes it comes out a little high, I would say, when he's leaning back. But most of the time, when he gets a good step into the throw, it's pretty frequently accurate. So I like Simpson. I think that he's one of the quarterbacks that'll end up being a first rounder. Could be top of the draft to one of these teams that's trying to win this quarterback lottery. So we'll see. What he'll do with kind of a worse supporting cast, because that's just kind of how it ends up being with these top teams or the teams at the top of the draft in the NFL. As you get drafted, you're in a bad situation. Probably got a new coach. Probably don't have a whole lot of talent around you. You can look at Cam Ward, what he had to go through last year, where his first year coach got fired. He's got no receivers. These guys are going to have to go through that same stuff. So, going to have whatever excuses he wants in year one, but we'll see what these 3 guys will have. And Simpson, I feel like, is least suited of the 3 to survive in that system, but I still think there's enough talent here that there's plenty of upside.
It's very topical because we got it today. He declared for the NFL draft today. And that's a big one
Today
because
being January 7th, that's when we're recording.
correct. So this was a situation where it was kind of starting to feel like maybe he wasn't going to be in this class because of the lack of experience. I mean, this is going to be a drumbeat that you're going to hear over and over again. 15 career starts. It's unprecedented for a quarterback with that few starts to go in the first round. There's been like 3 of them or something in the last whatever years. Okay, whatever. He's in the class now. He has put his name into this class. And today, I was kind of interested to see this because with this news comes, everybody putting in their 2 cents on him and also like reporting on him and saying that like these folks who have league sources are saying that they have primarily heard that Simpson is getting day 2 NFL feedback. I understand that because I have a day 2 grade on him.
You're the
But
source. You're who they're talking
yes,
to.
I am on the advisory council. Surprise. Here's the thing. He's going in the first round. Nobody can convince me at this point that he's not going in the first round. And I'm not saying he's going to go top 3 because I don't think he is. He will go in the back half of round 1.
If Zach Wilson can go top 5, how can Ty Simpson not go
Well,
25? That I'm not saying
oh,
like Zach Wilson, good
no, I
job by
know.
them, but like the fact that Ty Simpson has like everything that Zach Wilson had, and also played at a good program and was probably better than him. Like, how do we not get up in here?
Okay, well here's the problem with what you just said. Because Ty Simpson to me, like, in some ways demonstrates some of the things that Zach Wilson and others like him have demonstrated, which is a lack of processing speed.
The name didn't come out of nowhere. I'll say that.
Yeah. Like, he's not I'll say this. This is a green quarterback. That's going to be the narrative. It shows up on his film. But here's the thing. From the beginning of the season to the later parts of the season, it looked like he was getting more comfortable with reading the field. It was, and this offense, I mean, it's a lot of half field, it's a lot of quick stuff. He's not really getting, through 3 progressions and going across the field in many cases, but that was starting to show up more later in the season. So at first, it was like a huge red X on his scouting report. And by the end, I was kind of like scribbling it out a little bit. Like, okay, maybe there's been a little bit of development here, but it's still something that is a work in progress. And that's not necessarily what you love when you're talking about, all right, now he's going to the NFL.
Right.
But most importantly, the thing that I think really holds him back right now is his ability against pressure, because he really struggles in terms of accuracy when he is being pressured. Like, it becomes very erratic when he is forced to move outside the pocket. And in a lot of cases, it's like he's thrown off the back foot against pressure, and it starts to really get a little squirrely. Like, he puts, and it's like, when I say that, then I feel like everyone is like, well, I saw him make that throw against pressure on film. And it's like, yes, he has, it's inconsistent. It's erratic. He's done it, but it's not a part of his, it's not something I can comfortably say he can do well.
Right.
And
You're
so,
not putting a green check by does well under pressure.
right. So it's one of those things where it's like, you are now going to the NFL with limited experience, and I have questions about your ability to play under pressure and to read the field. That's a problem. And
Yep.
so that I understand why the day 2 stuff is a thing with him. I have a second round grade on him for those reasons. But at the same time, the reason I have a second round grade on him, and the reason that I think the NFL's taken him in the first round, is because there's flashes here that are crazy good. I mean, the ball placement can be excellent. It can be very, very high level. He has made some very high level throws this season to all levels of the field. He puts that kind of classic tight window stuff on film pretty consistently throughout this season, where it's like, over the top of a corner to the boundary where he's, trailing the receiver, and he's putting it right over the corner's helmet, giving him a chance there. You see him working down the field pretty consistently. I think there's a lot to like, but it's all just very flat. It's all flashes right now. It's not a lot of consistency. And so I get why people are hesitant about him in general. Like, how is this going to look in year 1? Which is why I'm going to say it shouldn't look like anything in year 1. He should go in the back part of round 1. ideally to a team that doesn't need him to start right away.
Doesn't
And that
happen
would be
anymore.
great. I
Sorry.
know. I know. It's not going to happen. He'll go to, he'll go to Cleveland at 28 and be thrown into the fire and, fail miserably. But like, just imagine if like LA, if the Rams, like
They're
if
trading for Anthony Richardson. Sorry about it.
well, that's one of the guys who had less than 15 or less than 20 starts or whatever into the league.
And shouldn't have started for a year. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
But
So how you break these guys. Yeah, I think I agree mostly like with the general overview is like he can make every throw on the field. I think that's evident where maybe he's I don't know his exact measure 6'2", 208 he's listed as a little bit shorter I would say throws over the middle of the field pretty well. I think layers over linebackers pretty well. I think throws the like outside deep ball better than most of the guys in this class. I mean there's a couple names that I'd put ahead of him, but there's like a deliberate like I can rip this corner route and it's kind of sick. So that's not a throw that a lot of these young developmental quarterbacks make, I would say, in time in the pocket where you can go opposite hash and throw a back shoulder to Ryan Williams when he's got a guy on top of him and a safety on top of him. I think he does that well. And then the short stuff is as it should be, but sometimes these guys struggle with short accuracy. See Anthony Richardson, where you have the big arm and you can get it downfield, but you got to be able to hit the slant. You got to be able to hit the check down, and I think Ty Simpson does that all very well. So I definitely see the shortcomings, and they're definitely there, where he needs a lot of consistency. He needs reps. He needs a ton of reps before he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. But there's definitely a lot of potential here for a player that can be a good improviser that can sling it around.
it's worth noting because he's only has 15 starts. You think, oh, he must be like 20 years old. He's 23. So like there's also that element of this where it's like he's going into the league green, but he's not necessarily young. Like and I know, oh, 23, that's ancient, like, but it's when we're talking about the guy who's probably most likely coming up next for both of us, that's a big discrepancy and you're talking about players that are kind of in a similar position in some ways, but there's a 3-year, almost a 3-year difference between those two guys.
Right.
So with that said, are we on the same page or are you throwing me a curveball?
I'd be shocked if we weren't on the same page. This is Dante Moore out of Oregon. Yes. So Dante Moore, great season. We kind of outlined this UCLA as a freshman where he was not very good, or there just wasn't a ton there. And then came over to Oregon, didn't start over Dylan Gabriel, and then came in this junior year, didn't really have a ton of expectation for this player because like he was a backup last year and we'll see, yes, it's Oregon and they have weapons and they should be a good team and who knows what this is going to end up looking like. And then Dante Moore just came in and made this offense awesome. Really fun to watch. Can talk about a guy that can throw it all over the field. Yes, the deep ball can be a little bit sporadic, but for the most part, I think this is like the second best pure thrower in the class, where he can just like deliver it on time, on target, has a ton of velocity even on like touch passes, which is super important. You can get it up and down to a spot in a hurry. I love how he throws over the middle of the field with timing and with anticipation, hits his back foot and just throws it. I think something that he has that Ty Simpson doesn't is like he has more decisiveness, I guess, where it's just hit the back foot and trust your processing and trust what you've seen before the snap and then up to this point and let it rip. Because Simpson, I feel like sometimes is sitting back there and he'll hitch and then he'll throw it late and it's like, all right, this play was cooked by the time you hitched. you gotta let it go. And Moore, I think, facilitates this offense just as well as he elevates this offense. And then there's some mobility here, but I think, like we outlined before this discussion, is like I wouldn't say he's a mobile quarterback. He's not like, some of these guys where it's like, oh yeah, he has like a 600, 700 yard rushing upside. I don't think that's in the cards, but there's definitely, he can bail, he can run if he needs to. They run him on option plays in this offense. Like, he's not unathletic, he's not a statue. And the throw on the run stuff is pretty good, I'd say, where he can get outside of the pocket. They design a lot of bootlegs in this offense. It's, there is a good amount of gimmick in this offense, I would say, still in Oregon, but there are times where he is, bootlegging outright, throwing, with a receiver that's crossing with him, and it's landing right in the breadbasket on the run. So there is a ton of good, I would say, with Dante Moore. I think you can't really – I don't know if you can go wrong with the top two guys. I think if you want to flip-flop them, you can, but I prefer the other one to Dante Moore. But I think they're both really good.
Yeah, I'll say this. I have number one a meaningful bump above Moore.
Okay.
But I also would understand anybody who preferred Moore, just because you're talking about a player here that is 20 years old, that is very clearly still in development and took a huge jump forward this year. So, like, if you're talking about a player that represents upside in this class, I think it's very easy. It's a very easy argument to make that Moore has the most upside of any quarterback in this class. I think right now I would be shocked if he goes back to school.
Yeah.
And we don't know that for sure. And it sounds, all of the reporting makes it seem like it is very much up in the air. Like, it is like, it could go either way at this point. And then now there's this whole element of the Jets having the number 2 pick, and will that influence his decision? And like, okay, fine. If he goes back to school, I understand. Like, these guys are making a lot of money now. He could probably benefit from another collegiate season in terms of just developing a little bit further to go into the NFL feeling totally comfortable. But I think
what he have an early declare ever again.
I mean, it's starting to swing. I mean, it's like what I think the Levitt contract was going to be like $6 million or something for next year. Like, it's legitimate money already for these guys. But I think in Moore's case, like, if he declares, he's going top 2. And so it's hard to say no to that. And especially when you're coming off of this really, really good season. This is a 5-star recruit. Like, this is a player that was supposed to end up in this position. Took a little bit of a circuitous path to get here because of the took a little bit of a windy road.
That was sick.
Okay.
Just didn't caught me by surprise.
To get here, because that first season at UCLA, his freshman year, was very bumpy. Like, there were flashes that year, and it was enough to like put him on the radar, but it didn't end particularly well. And he was, like you said, he was a question mark because he didn't play last year, and he's sitting behind Gabriel, and like, what's this going to look like? And he came out and did it this year. And I think all of the things that you said, I agree with. I think he is just like, his release is so quick and so smooth. It's really hard to watch him and not think about CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, he's got the quick release. He's got great footwork. The base is always good. He hits that back foot, like you said, and just like everything is in harmony. It's very Stroud-esque. And I think he demonstrated this year some really, really high end accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially intermediate and deep down the field. I'm with you where I think the deep ball was a little bit erratic at times and a little bit more spotty, but I think generally it was very good. Intermediate was great. I mean, the back shoulder work that they were doing was just high level. His placement was pretty much top notch all the time. Um, and also, like you said, like, is he, Lamar Jackson? No, but he's a good to great athlete. Like,
Yep.
he has more than enough juice to create with his legs. And you said it, they're working him on options, they're working him on draws and stuff. Like, he's more than capable of creating with his feet and also on the run as well. He is
Yeah,
not
think of
these
like how Jordan Love or like Caleb Williams is like, I'll run if I need to. And like, hey, yeah, he can get you, 10, 15 yards if it's there for him, but like I'm not going to do that unless there's nothing for me.
exactly.
Cuz he's such a
So,
good thrower. So like why not? Why not push that baby downfield, Give me a
yes.
second reaction play instead of me getting 8 yards on a scramble.
So I think for him, the reasons why maybe he opts to return to school, maybe he thinks he needs that development time. I think for me, where that shows up is like his accuracy versus blitzes, I think was particularly like not great. Like the Indiana game in particular, they were doing a lot of like stunts and blitzing through the A gap, and that was just giving him a lot of problems. There was just a lot of throws in that game where it was like he's got a rusher in his face and he's kind of just whipping it and just like trying to get it out of his hands as quickly as he can. Um and again, he's not a player where there's not a ton asked of him post snap in terms of reading the field because this offense is just so like screen, deep shot, screens, like four verts up the seam. Like, it's
Get
just
him in the
very
Eagles
like,
offense.
yeah. But while it doesn't show up a ton, it wasn't something that I thought like this was not a Ty Simpson where it was like the processing is noticeably slow. Like, I didn't think that it was like an issue with him. It's just that there's not a lot on film of him having to do it. And then just generally, I think his arm, he's got good velocity and he can push it, but I don't think he has a huge arm. And I do
Yeah.
see the deep ball kind of die on him a little
Mm-hmm.
bit when he's pushing it real deep down the field.
Yeah, when he's taking that like 7 step drop and he has to fly, and it's like, man, you got to put everything into this one, get it, 50 yards down the field, and it's like, well, this is going to be a back shoulder ball. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. He's not putting it out in front of him, in between him and the sideline. It's not going to be one of these, the top tier arms in the league, but there's definitely some moments where you see he's put like it's gonna be on the money on these like intermediate to deep throws, but when you get like deep throws 30 plus, that's when it's like don't love it.
All right. Number one.
Number one, Fernando Mendoza.
There he is.
How do you feel about this? Because this was a name of yours going into the season that I would say you planted your flag on. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but I feel like you had an affinity for Mendoza before a lot of people kind of hopped on the train.
I think Mendoza at Cal was just like he represented a player that he wasn't there yet, but there was just so much to like about him versus like the way that we're talking about a lot of these guys, where it's like they're not asked to read the full field often. They're not making a ton of anticipatory throws. Like, that stuff was all happening with Mendoza at Cal. It was just very inconsistent. This year at Indiana, it really all started to come together for him. Like, there is so much high level quarterbacking on his film that he was an easy QB1 for me. I think there's going to be conversations about him in terms of upside. I get it, but also I just think he's a damn good quarterback, and he's going to come in and probably go to the Raiders and will be an upgrade over Geno Smith in his current iteration, like right away. Because I just think what you get from Mendoza right now is, I mean, high level accuracy, all levels of the field. And like, this is something that really improved for him from last year, where he had a lot of like holy shit throws on film last year, but it was like you had four like kind of rough throws and then you got to that throw. And this year for it was just a lot cleaner. He was playing on time consistently. He was commanding this offense well and delivering accurate throws basically all the time. I mean, he was one of the most accurate passers in the nation, and there's, that is all showing up on film. I think one of the throws that really stands out with him is the throws outside the numbers and specifically to the field side where he is just ripping it into like that Surratt out route. That was like, that's his signature. Mendoza is ripping that throw from the far hash right where it needs to be every time.
Mm-hmm.
So you see him pushing the ball well outside the numbers. You see him working the intermediate part of the field well. You see him working the middle of the field well. The deep ball was great this year. Really, really like high level ball placement in most cases. And I will say this, you will hear people, because I've already seen it, say that he is a limited athlete. He's a pocket passer. Okay, sure. But he can move. He can legitimately create. Like, he can duck rushers and get outside the pocket and scramble and pick up big yardage with his legs. I'm not saying he's going to walk into the NFL and be one of these rushing threat quarterbacks, but he is not a statue, like pure statue, pure pocket passer.
I think
He's
the latest like favorite comp has been Jared Goff, and I don't know if that's a fair eval athleticism wise.
and that's what I was thinking going into this year, because and it was a little bit of helmet scouting, but like they are very similar in terms of the build and the play style. I just think he is a better mover than Goff was. He just is. Like, he can scramble. He has like, you wouldn't expect it, but like he puts some ridiculous moments on film of like, oh, he got out of there. Oh, he picked up 20 yards with his legs, and also like great on the run as well. Like, he's another one that can get outside, and if he like arm angle, all arm angles, like off platform, doesn't matter. Like, he is a creator as well. But I mean,
He had 65 rushes also this season
yeah.
for 316 yards and 6 touchdowns. So that's actual runs. That's not like, oh, he took a sack, let's give him negative 10 yards on a rush. The actual like runs, he had 65 of them. So they were also, he ran a lot of QB power, read option, things of that nature where they trusted him enough. And yes, it's 5 yards per carry, but also trust him in the red zone to take it in himself. So it's not like he's a minus in the like scramble department, in the rushing department. He is a true like, hey, this guy can move a little bit and he's tough. Like, he will take on contact and try to make people miss. Maybe that makes you cringe a little bit after this whole Jackson Dart rookie campaign, but he will, yes, invite contact, but I don't think he's like stupid about it. He also will slide if it's not looking good and stuff like that. So I don't know. I like Mendoza on the move a little more than most people, it seems.
And I mean, I'll just say it. I know this doesn't matter as much as it used to. Like we've seen this kind of go away at all positions, but there's just something about a 6'5", 225 quarterback that feels right. And he just looks the part. And none of these other guys are with him in that department. All these guys are coming in just over 200 pounds. He has the legitimate frame. And I mean, it shows up.
Yeah, yeah. So Mendoza for me is just like literally if you built a quarterback in a lab, you would get Fernando Mendoza. Like maybe 12 years ago, if you built a quarterback in a lab, it
Yeah.
would end up
Yeah.
being Fernando Mendoza. But the just like down to the way he like drops back, the way he holds the ball is like quarterback camp in 2013. You hold the ball at your chest and you squeeze that thing even as you're moving. You go peck to peck outside of the pocket, and you get up and you come over the top and you rip it, and it's all like very traditional, classic, and it works because I mean he's throwing it all over the yard. He is throwing it with accuracy, with timing, with pace, with I mean the deep ball I think is the best in the class. Like it's you look at some of these other guys and it's like, man, he can get it downfield, but it kind of peters out at some point. I feel like Mendoza can push this thing downfield, especially like the big post. I really like out of Mendoza when like Omar Cooper is coming open on that post route. He's gonna let that thing go with air for Cooper to run underneath it. And like you said, throwing to the field side, they got those wide hashes in college. So if you're going opposite side out route, that's a far throw, man. And he is getting it there outside shoulder, getting him, getting him on the outside so he can turn the corner and get some yards after the catch. Speaking to receivers with the ball, which is something that elite quarterbacks can do, where he's telling them, hey, you got to sit down here. I'm going to put it on this inside shoulder while you're running this way so you don't run into more coverage or you don't run into a tackler. So I think Mendoza has, all the right stuff. He almost makes it look like easy to throw the ball, I guess is a reductive way of saying it. But every once in a while you can tell he like really wants to get some mustard on that thing, and he'll like step into it and it'll come screaming out and like slide in between two guys, and it's like I sometimes have like no notes. I'm like, yeah, that's quarterback play right there. That's what I want when I'm signing up to watch these guys slinging around. So yeah, it doesn't seem as reliant on like the gimmick or the game plan or the scheme as some of these other guys. Definitely has some some mobile limitations. He's not like a huge athlete, but I don't mind him on the move. I don't mind him running the ball. I trust him, to execute my offense and not have to like pare down the playbook at all. So I do think he's very deserving of the number one pick in the NFL. I think like we're looking good. Raiders, we'll see like what this environment brings them. I think yes, he's an upgrade over Geno, like you said. I think it's going to be real hard to survive in an environment like that. Like it's still real ugly where the offensive line's kind of a mess. The coaching staff is obviously TBD. The receiver room is garbage. You have Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. I mean, give them the ball 400 times this season and see how everything else works itself out.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for him, but you have to hope that they get the right coaching staff in there, fix this offensive line,
You
or
think
at
they do
least
it again where they're just like, we'll take John Harbaugh? And they're like, well, let's get a veteran coach in here to change the culture?
I mean, would you hate it?
It's not a bad. No, I didn't hate Pete Carroll, though.
Well,
I liked Pete Carroll, is the problem.
yeah, that whole situation with Pete Carroll, it just seemed to me like you had Pete Carroll coming in and a new GM coming in, and we know how Pete kind of was in Seattle, where it was like a lot of personnel control. It feels like that was just always destined to be a fail. I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. You just have to hope that they get somebody in there that won't put their fucking son as the offensive line coach. That's all I'm asking, really.
Or don't
That's
put
all
your
I need.
also don't put your dad as the offensive line coach at Brian Callahan.
Yeah.
Let's keep the nepotism to the front office. Let's keep it out of the coaching staff. Well, it worked for Shanahan.
No,
He
yeah,
spawned like an entire generation of play callers and offense coordinators.
some nepo babies are deserved.
Like Maya Hawk.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But tell me Tom Brady's not going to love this guy also. Like he's going to be banging the drum for Mendoza as much as anybody in Vegas because it's just he is he's a little bit of a throwback.
How is Tom Brady a broadcaster?
I don't know.
And the owner of the Raiders. Like a co-owner. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It's like we all asked the question like when it first happened, like, wait, how is this allowed?
And nobody answered it?
Yeah, they were like, I don't know. And then we just moved on. And it was like, wait a minute, hold on.
Like, can we have Greg Olson calling games again, please? I don't want Tom Brady on my screen.
So Mendoza, I think, is he a perfect prospect? No. He is certainly worthy of the number 1 overall pick in this class. I believe that. He is not a quarterback that I have graded as a top 10 like this is not a Caleb Williams, obviously. It's not a Drake May. Like he is going to be more in that like Stroud tier for me, which is fine. But I think some of the things that prevent him from being in that next tier up are like, yes, he is not an exceptional athlete. He is a better athlete than you will hear that he is, but he is not an exceptional athlete. The arm strength, I would say, is good to great. It's not elite. I don't think we have an elite arm outside of Drew Allar in this class. And unfortunately, Allar doesn't know how to use it. So we don't really have
a guy for that weapon, Allar.
Yes. We don't have a certified cannon at the top of this draft. But that's fine. And then I think something with Mendoza, I think generally good against pressure. There were a few times where he just like missed
the
free
fadeaway,
rushers.
Man. Not everybody can pull off the fadeaway.
Yeah. The people love going to the fadeaway, but it takes a special talent to pull that off consistently. Right. But there were a few times where he had guys blitzing free and didn't pick them up, which I get it. That's going to happen from time to time. Like, I don't know what the protection calls were. Like, I can't know any of that, but like he's getting smoked from the blind side by like a corner blitz or something. Like a couple of it came up a couple of times. So I don't think he has a pre-snap problem or anything, but just something maybe to keep your eyes on with him.
I've definitely seen, in like him throwing it off his back foot, leaning back. Like he had one against Oregon that was like horrible, where it was like he had 2 guys come through, faded back, tried to throw a crosser, and it just like died, and the guy pick 6, and it's like, all right, we need to not throw that one. We either need to eat that sack or get that thing all the way out of bounds or dirt it. Like your running backs near you, just throw it into the ground. So that's something where very fixable, but a bad habit if it becomes a habit of when I have pressure in my face, still try to make a play. I love trying to make a play, but we don't want to make a bad thing worse.
There it is. 2026 quarterbacks, not where we expected them to be at all. We don't have an Arch. We don't have a Lenore Sellers. They're not even here.
Nope.
The
They left
ones we
camp.
thought were good are
Their
not
mom
even
came and
on.
picked them up from camp.
But luckily, as long as Dante Moore is in this
Oh
class,
God, it's gonna get real bad if he's not.
yeah. I mean, if he's not, then it's a problem. Then it's a 101 and a whole lot of I don't know what's happening. But hopefully he is. Hopefully Oregon's playoff run continues. He shows up on the big stage and feels like he can walk away and go to the next level. But ultimately, I think in terms of Superflex, because I did say we were going to touch on this, I think Mendoza, despite his athletic limitations, I think you can take him
2.
102.
Yeah,
I
don't
do.
take him over Jeremiah Love.
No,
I
no,
think
absolutely not.
I think that's I need to set a clear line in the sand, draw a clear line in the sand. Mendoza does not go above Jeremiah Love. I know you need a quarterback and you have 101 and you don't want to wait a whole another year to get a quarterback. If you are desperate and like you need it that bad and you got to trade 101, I wouldn't suggest that either, but don't take Mendoza over Jeremiah Love. That's my sage advice to you.
Yeah.
Take him 102. Trade down a pick if you need to, but don't take him 101 over Jeremiah Love.
Nobody goes above Love in this class. Absolutely. You could make an argument to me, and maybe I'll get there over the next few months, that like Tyson, maybe Tate, maybe, like I think those two probably, like Lemon, you maybe make the case, but like I think if you want to stand on the table for like a Tyson over a quarterback, like I'm not going to fight you on that, but I just think the delineation in this one is clear enough to me that it's you could take Mendoza and Moore and then start taking the receivers. I think you could take both of those quarterbacks at the top of the draft, and you wouldn't hate yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially since it's a tier of 3 receivers where it's not like it's not, and I know the Marvin Harrison experiment's seems a little messed up now, but it's not like this is Marvin Harrison Jr. You need to take Marvin Harrison Jr. in this spot, or this is Malik Neighbors. You need to take Malik Neighbors in this spot. It's a little different because it's like, hey, there's 3 guys that are pretty close that you feel kind of good if you get any of these players. So if you go Mendoza, then maybe you got another pick later. If you're at 102, you probably got more than one first if you're doing things right, and you can bank on getting Tate or Lemon or Tyson with your second first round pick, or you trade back in or whatever. Just do what's best for your team. Take Jeremiah Love 101, and let the Superflex gods figure out what to do for you next.
You have 2 first round picks. I have 0.
I have 2. I have 2 in
How
our
do I
draft.
get 2? I'd take 1.
You win too much. That's the problem. You gotta. What you gotta do is you have to take your good players and give them to other people.
Yes.
And then you get to draft cool players.
That's the secret to fantasy football.
And then when you draft the cool players, you trade them in 2 years.
All right. I'm not even going to ask you if you have honorable mentions, because I don't think we need to talk about any more quarterbacks than these 5 and 6 or how
6.
many ever we talked about.
Yeah. I mean, we covered the guys that like Arch and Sellers and Levitt that are going back that we'll talk about with this. I don't know how if my storage space is going to be able to handle the length of the episodes in 2027 because we have so many players. But I'm pretty jazzed about that.
Oh, it's going to be great. But we're going to stick around with 2026 for a little bit. And we kind of have a good one coming up next week, I think.
Uh-oh.
Hey, tight ends. We got running backs, we got quarterbacks. Okay, fine. I think tight ends is where it swings back around. I still like this 2026 group quite a bit. I think there's a really good one on top and another really good one behind him that's probably not getting a lot of national love still, but we'll give him plenty of love, I think, next week.
Yeah,
But
I can't wait.
until then, if you enjoyed our discussion about quarterbacks, be sure to find us on Twitter at camp_dynasty and TikTok at camp.dynasty. And if you are watching us on YouTube right now, hello, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you haven't done that already, because we really appreciate it. Helps us out, takes 0.4 seconds of your time to do those things. So, just I guess I'll
It's
do
free.
it. Okay, we'll take that.
441 of you have done it.
Yeah.
Why not
And
be the 442nd?
Yeah, why not? Why not you? And if you're listening on the pod feed, be sure to like and follow and rate and potentially leave a review if you're into that sort of thing. Leave a comment on Spotify, leave a comment on YouTube, wherever. I mean, get in touch. Tell us what you think about Mendoza, Moore, Simpson. I mean, we want to hear all of that as well. So let us know what you are thinking.
Tell me why Miller Moss is the best quarterback in the class. Write that
Officially
dissertation
declared.
down in the comments. Yep, declared on the 7th with Ty Simpson. They're together, and they declared together.
Miller Moss is like, I got to get in on this quick. I'm going to be a day 2 pick too. That's what they're telling me.
Yeah. Also, go see Marty Supreme while it's still in theaters.
There it is. Chalamet. Thanks for stopping by Camp Dynasty this week, and we'll see you next week.